Former Houston Astros third baseman Alex Bregman chooses the Boston Red Sox over the Chicago National League Ball Club. What went wrong for the Cubs? We'll give you the details. In basketball, the Bulls are 11 games under 500 during the All-Star break. We'll give you the details in our special hour of our NBA slash Bulls Power Hour. And in college basketball, the Fighting Illini get a great big win at home against UCLA. That and a whole lot more is a special hashtag Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports, and happy Valentine's Day to those who celebrate. You're locked and loaded in live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I ain't Cindy Brown. You better know by now that this is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
That's how I feel about Valentine's Day. You can follow Keita McGee on the Twitter, X, and Q and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, so Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can definitely hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. Lakina will get the up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid. I'm giving Lakina full powers to give you fools to be a lamp, be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you, first, shout out to the replay gang watching us on the replay. And shout out to the ones that are watching us live right now on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Always, always remember and never, never, ever forget, you know we will provide.
And we'll provide you with some of the best here on Second City Sports, of course. If you are single this Valentine's Day, we'll try to cheer you guys up with a little bit of sports talk. As, of course, as I said, in our second hour, we will have our illustrious All-Star panel as NBA All-Star Weekend commences in the Bay Area. We'll tell you who they are in a second, so you got to wait till the second hour of the show for that. But also, too, of course, we'll talk some college hoops, have some big matchups, some big wins a big win on the women's side last night in the Battle of Los Angeles. And maybe a little bit of NFL free agency talk and a lot more. But first, Sid, pitchers and catchers have all arrived, and in some cases, whole teams have arrived in spring training in Arizona and Florida. Now, Alex Bregman, the all-star third baseman for the Astros, of course, he won a ring with the Astros a couple of years back. Now he's going to be playing for the Red Sox. He signed a 3-year, $120 million deal with opt-outs after the second and third year. And the Cubs, unfortunately, they didn't get him. Of course, Detroit was also trying to get him too. He actually had an offer in place from his now former team, the Astros. Now, at first, Sid and I, we were talking about it, yesterday. And when I saw the numbers initially, I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe, okay, they were willing to spend. Okay, fine. I wouldn't give. Look, I like Bregman, but he's 31 and he's had some injuries and such. So I wouldn't want to give him $40 million. But when you read some of the other numbers are coming out, Bruce Levine, of course, from MLB, he reported that it was $115 million for 3 years. And another report came out saying that the Cubs weren't even willing to even go that high, and weren't even willing to give Bregman an opt out after the first year, which that was one of the reasons why he chose the Red Sox. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit miffed, Sid. What do you think about this, about the signing? And what do you think about I'm saving myself for a little bit with it, but I don't want to go on that change. But I'll let you go first, my friend.
Looking at Jed Hoy's face yesterday during his presser in front of the Chicago media down there in Arizona, he looked like he lost his puppy. And I know that we've been critical on this show about the Cubs and their spending this all season or lack thereof, and in some parts of their ownership claiming that we're not making as much money as we thought and blah 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 this and that. But reading Patrick Mooney's article yesterday in Athletic, it gives you a suggestion that Jed Hoyer really had to convince the Ricketts family to spend on certain players. So as we thought, like this franchise is not as quote unquote broke as they thought, as the message that they portrayed to their fans. So here's the thing: we said that this team still needs another starter, and which is still true. But I thought that Alex Bregman would have fit this ball club very well. I don't know if that kid Shaw, their minor league prospect, will be ready as a third baseman. We'll give us a couple of names to the I think one name the Cubs should consider for that third baseman is Shaw's not ready in just a moment. But looking at Joe Hoyer yesterday, it looked like he was defeated and just trying to explain himself away. He tried to put on a brave face, but he's just like a man defeated.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell that this is like actually pretty much this is basically a lame duck year for him, and unfortunately,
Hmm.
as this is the last year of his contract, and you can kind of tell that he's starting to get a little bit exhausted because he's not been given the tools to spend money. And I have to say, and unfortunately, look, I know Tom Brady's a big Cubs fan, and liquid capital and all this stuff, and of course, we all remember biblical losses when he said, at the height of the pandemic, and you can't use that as an excuse now. You're making money from your marquee network, especially now that you have your own app. You got other things that you're getting revenue off of. It's just that you guys don't want to spend money. You want to spend money like the Tampa Bays and the Minnesota Twins of the world when you're the number 3 market in the entire country. You need to start spending like it. You don't want to touch the luxury tax. I get it, but you can't feed off that 2016 World Series. You can only do it for so long, and I think that's another problem that I'm having with this. Like Cubs fans don't want to wait another 100 some odd years for another World Series. They want to compete every year. And we talked about it earlier this week, Sid, about their predictions for the Cubs. They might win 90. Their predictions they might win 95 and this and that. They might win the NL Central. Blah blah blah. Well, you got to give them the tools to do that. And look, okay, fine. If you didn't want to pay them that much money, fine. Or if you want to give them like incentives and all that, but the fact that you're not willing to spend or be compete with some of these big time free agents, that's not a good look for the franchise. And look, your Craig Counsell had basically said, not in so many words, he said last year, look, he needs help, he needs the tools,
Hmm.
and you're not willing to do that. Maybe you should sell the team, Ricketts family. Maybe maybe give it to people that will be willing to spend. Because look, we went through this deal with the Tribune, had ownership of it. They didn't want to spend it for years, and now we're going through this now again. So it's just like it's mind boggling what's happening here.
Are you telling me that sell the team chance will be coming to the north side if they don't make the playoffs this year? How ironic!
Maybe,
Us south
maybe.
sides will give you some tools to do that, Lakita. But here's a couple of quotes from Jed Hoyer, courtesy of Patrick Mooney from the Athletic in his article that came out earlier today. Beginning of the quote: "The things that we're going to be doing now are probably going to be smaller things financially." Hoyer said, "We'll always look, but I think that right now the big blocks, so to speak, are sort of on his team. We're able to make moves in season. We'll be able to opportunistically as things come up. But my expectation is that the group that we have right now is really close to what we're going to go forward with. Well, that's telling me yes, he's not going to make any other big moves between now and the beginning of the season. All the other any moves that will be made, barring injuries, will be smaller moves. I think your next big move, Lakina, I hate to say it, if this team is contentious, which they should be, will become around the July 31st trade deadline.
And that's something that I think Cubs fans might not, don't want to hear. And I think that's really thing. Well, we'll talk about it because I know there are a couple of guys that I think they should try for. I know, so you got a couple of names as well. But
Mhm.
it's sort of one of those things where what if they don't go into a tough start? What if they have a rough start like they did last year? I mean,
Mhm.
there's no guarantee that. Look, you don't know what. Look, Milwaukee, they traded their closer, but they still might be competitive. Pittsburgh,
Mhm.
Paul Skeens. I mean, we'll see how they are. I'm talking about the Pirates. Of course the Reds. Of course, Eric Francona is now the manager. So we'll see how they do. And it's kind of like it's getting more and more frustrating by the year, and it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel at this point. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens here with the Cubs because, like I said, if they don't get into a rhythm like straight away, there are going to be people, Cubs fans are going to be really upset. And I don't think it. Look, it's sort of one of those things where it's just like, okay, what they're going to be selling the team chants all over the place, and that's going to be something that maybe the Ricketts family don't want to hear. So they better try to do something, and they better hope that the Cubs get to a good start.
Yeah, because they can't afford another year of missing the playoffs, especially Jed Hoyer, like you said, that he's in a lame duck year. It's rare for an executive to be working in a lame duck year in professional sports, period. You lost by one game of competing in the playoffs 2 years ago. Last year, you had the same record, but the couple of teams ahead of you were even better. You mentioned with Milwaukee within the division, within itself, they were better. So you lost out there. But this year, there are no more excuses, no more pandering. This team needs to make the playoffs, or else changes should and will be made. Here's a couple of names, according to Patrick Mooney's article in the Athletic, that the Cubs should consider to be their third baseman. Mark Canha, JD Martinez, and Justin Turner. I like Justin Turner because you can also put him as the DH as well. JD Martinez, I know the Mets picked him up last year, but he really didn't do too much. He's an older player. Matt Canha, he's okay, but he's not really nothing to ring home about. I really like Justin Turner. I know if Cub fans, you remember what he did back in the 2017 playoffs when he helped the Dodgers knock out the Cubs in that NLCS series. He had a big series there. I know he's bounced around a couple places, Boston, Toronto, the last couple years, but I really like him at third base because, like I said, you can put him at DH and really add to that Cubs lineup.
You really can, and I think he is very versatile. So he can play outfield and infield. He can hit the ball. So I think that's the kind of player that the Cubs need on their roster. And you can probably get it for a nice little team-friendly deal with options. So Martinez is kind of a slightly older version of him. So that's kind of the one concern that I have. He's about a couple years older. But so he might be another one that might be someone that the Cubs could consider. So I think those two players I say are probably the better options, I think, out of the three you mentioned. So we'll see if the Cubs are try to be. I know Hoyer said that if you get one of those guys with a nice little team friendly deal with an option, I think you could definitely maybe they would both fit this team very well. As the second city sports on Sports of Chicago, like Keena McGee, Sidney Brown with you, and it'll be interesting to see like what he does, what Hoyer does, if anything, because I think that there's going to be something that someone's going to be going to have to give here, as far as especially if they come into a bad start. So look, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as you mentioned with those potential players that they could play third base for you, you don't have to pay a lot, so they'll be definitely under Jed Hoyer's wheelhouse. And I'll still say this until the start of the season. It looks like we'll keep saying this until the July 31st trade line. The Cubs need an extra starter in their starting rotation as far as starting pitching is concerned, because we've been seeing this over the last few years, Lakina. More injuries have occurred with these young pitchers throughout the game of baseball. And we saw what the Dodgers had to go through last year, both in their bullpen and with their starting pitching. I'm not going to say it was a miracle that they won it, but they had to adjust basically on the fly just to keep their pitching staff afloat. So I hope the Cubs are mindful of that and had to make another move to boost their starting rotation.
Let's take a really quick break. Of course, we're gonna talk a little college hoops.
Was that Jed Hoyer banging on your door?
Yeah, that might have been I'll answer that in a second here. But yeah, we're going to take a really quick break. Of course, we're going to talk some college hoops, both men and women, as Juju Watkins led USC to a big win over their crosstown rival, and some big matches coming up this week on the men's side with Selection Sunday just just a little over a month away, of course. And don't forget our NBA All-Star panel for the whole hour of the second hour of the show. So we got so much more fun to do here. Keena McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports. On Sports of Chicago, we go to the hardwood right after this. College style, coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool. These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks? They can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports and the hashtag Friday Funk Edition. You're locked and loaded and live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, execution again, the IG.
For more sports talk as we dive into college basketball, both the men's and the women's, and a little sports media news and nuggets time permitting for this segment, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get the up on the screen for you.
Now we'll do the hardwood but college style as the Illini got a big win a couple of days ago against UCLA. It ended up being a pretty, a pretty kind of back and forth matchup for a little bit before the Illini pulled away here, and then they really needed that to keep pace with the top of the Big Ten standings. And I think if you saw, I think we kind of finally saw that the Illini squad, that this is the Illini squad that we were used to seeing. All 5 stars were in double figures for Illinois, and it's kind of interesting because look, I've been saying this for the last month. It feels like, as far as Illinois is concerned, they could go from they could be right there in the conversation to go to the Final Four, but they could also be a team that could end up not even getting out of the second round. So this is on Tuesday we found, okay, this is the Illini team that we know and love, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because Chekionis, I can never say that guy's name. Sorry about that, Casper. He had 24 points for the Illini. And like I said, all 5 stars were double figures for them. And they kind of kept, because we know UCLA, they love playing defense. So they were actually kind of able to keep that defense at bay, and they did what they need to do. Evicius had 16 points for the Illini. He was 4 for 6 with 3-point range. That was a big, reason why Illinois was able to pull off this win, down there in Champaign.
Yeah, the problem with this Line 9 team at times is that they turn the ball over too damn much. They had 15 assists the other night, but they had 14 turnovers. They still need to take care of that basketball. And this is what happens when you have such a young, talented team that has really been together for a few months, haven't been together for a whole year. It's a totally different team than the team that lost to UConn last year in the regional final. So Brett Underwood has some work to do. You applaud the lineup for having a 17-8 record so far this year, but at times they have been inconsistent. They compete hard against the best teams in the Big Ten, but they had the bad losses at Rutgers, Maryland, Nebraska. They should have beat Michigan State at Michigan State a few Sundays ago. So those inconsistencies with a young team like this, it shows up. But on Tuesday, outside of those turnovers that I just mentioned, they out rebounded UCLA by a plus 13 margin, 36-23. Offensively, the offensive rebounds at a plus 5, 10-5 over the Bruins in the offensive rebounding department. And also, too, with the free throws, 18-20 for the free throw line. They struggled top of the line in the last couple of games shooting free throws. But overall, it was a very good performance. They shot almost 40% from three. Yes, we said this last year when they had almost a veteran team. When they fall in love way too much with that 3-point shot, they get in trouble, and that's how you lose ball games, especially in today's basketball atmosphere of basketball. Today's game of basketball.
Yeah, especially in college hoops in general. We see it with certain teams. I'll talk about that with one team in a little bit here. But yeah, you live by a three and you die by the three, especially if you're not hitting those. So that's probably one of the reasons why they were able to kind of get out of that little of, even though with the bad percentage for three, they were able to kind of pick up slack from the defensive front and with offensive rebounds especially. So a big win for the Illini. They got a big matchup coming up tomorrow night as they host Michigan State on the Big Fox Network. We'll get to the schedule in a second, but just a big win for Illinois, of course. Make sure they don't get caught looking ahead to that matchup coming up against Sparty. We'll get to like I said, we'll get to the weekend schedule in a second here, but some of the other games, some of the big games here on the men's side this week. Auburn and Alabama both won their respective matchups, so they got a big matchup playing each other tomorrow night. We'll get to that in a second. Florida, they beat Mississippi State. These are from Tuesday's games, by the way, I'm talking about. Kentucky gets the season sweep against Tennessee without a couple of their best players, so a nice win for Mark Pope and his guys. Michigan with a nice upset, semi-upset win over Purdue. Danny Wolf had 15 points there. A&M beats Georgia. Iowa State, they get back on track against Iowa State. And Indiana, a nice win for Mike Woodson's crew. Malik Renault had 19 points as they upset Michigan State at the Breslin Center, mind you. So nice win for the Hoosiers there. K-State, they've been playing better lately. It's like 6 in a row for them. They upset Arizona. Kansas beat Colorado. Marquette, the ball hung in there for a little bit with them, but they pulled away late in the game there. Connecticut with a nice win, avenging that early season loss to Creighton and Omaha. And Buffalo beat Northern Illinois. USC, they beat Penn State. And Oregon beat Northwestern, and St. Mary's with a nice win against Santa Clara on Tuesday, I should say.
Yeah, a couple of games I want to discuss with you quickly from Tuesday. I caught the end of the UConn Creighton game. I know those UConn's first win in Omaha in a few years. UConn almost gave that away. I know Creighton fought hard, but UConn did the little things down the stretch, and they made their free throws. I know it's not the same team as they were the previous 2 years dominating college basketball. I'm not going to sit here and say that UConn can win it all. Maybe they can get on a surprise run if they can, but I would not count out Creighton just yet. Maybe it's just me, and this is the first time me seeing them extensively all year, but I wouldn't count them out just yet. That's just me.
Yeah, Creighton, like I said, Creighton's one of those teams where you live and die by the three. And the three, they hung in there for a little bit, but the three, kind of let them down early, and they were able to overcome that. So if they face a team that could defend the three against them, that could be a problem with them come tournament time. So I know they're number 2, St. John's. I know, St. John's didn't have a good week, so we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see what happens with Creighton down the line.
And
Now,
yeah, I also wanted to ask you about Indiana. With that upset win at Michigan State, do you realistically give them a shot of making the NCAA tournament, or they still have some work to do?
they're gonna have to probably win the conference tournament to get into the tournament because they don't have a. Now again, yeah, that win against Michigan State on the road definitely will help them a lot. But they're not even in the bubble conversation yet, so they need to get a couple of other wins to even get into the bubble conversation. This will be the time to do it though, but so we'll see what happens there. Now Wednesday, real quick, you got Duke, no trouble with Cal. Cooper Fly had 27 points there. Cal Neptune, he's doing pretty well over there in Villanova. They upset St. John's by a basket. Wooga Poplar had 22 points for Villanova. They definitely, speaking of teams that need to get into a little bit of a run if they want a chance at the tournament, this will definitely help their chances. And JT Toppin, that's Opie's kid brother, had 41 points, which was a career high for him as Texas Tech needed double overtime, but they were able to fend off Bobby Hurley's Arizona State Sun Devils there. He had Toppin had 15 rebounds and such. So a nice win for Tech after a nice hard fought win at home. Ole Miss beat South Carolina. Mizzou beat Oklahoma. Iowa beat Rutgers, and some would say kind of an elimination game there. TCU needed. You saw that crazy shot near the end of the game, kind of Christian Laettner-esque. They beat Oklahoma State. Bradley with a nice win against Southern Illinois to keep pace in the Missouri Valley. Let's see here. Ohio State beat Washington. Drake beats Illinois State, and New Mexico beats Wyoming. They go to 21-4. I'm talking about the Lobos.
I saw Arkansas. They beat LSU the other night, 70-58. I know you didn't mention that because you want me to blow my head off, but I'll save my anger for Cal another time.
Yes. You got going into yesterday's games. And this will make you a little bit happier, Sid. Memphis beat South Florida. Dane had 20 points for Penny Hardaway's game there. Maryland get back on track. They beat Nebraska and Omaha. Excuse me. And that's about it there. Gonzaga beat San Francisco. Portland beats Oregon State. A few other some of the West Coast matchups here, but let's go into this week. Well, Fairleigh Dickinson beat Chicago State pretty easily there in that game yesterday. But let's go into this weekend's game. Sid, Loyola, Chicago, they host St. Louis A-10 action. That's going to be at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Marist and Siena, like I said, Marist is still the top of the MAAC conference. They're keeping up there. UCLA meets Indiana. We'll see if Indiana can get another win, fresh up their resume. That's going to be on the Big Fox Network at 7. And you got Nevada and San Jose State on FS1 at 9 o'clock.
All right, tomorrow, Saturday, the important game starting at 11 a.m. on ESPN. We'll have Arkansas, John Calipari and crew, his 15-9 Razorbacks. They'll travel to Texas A&M to face the Aggies. The Aggies are ranked number 8 in the country right now. On the CW network at the same time, Channel 9 locally here in Chicago, we'll have number 23 Clemson quietly having a nice year at 20-5, ranked number 23 in the country. They'll take on Florida State. They are 15-9, so nice little battle there in the ACC. Also, to Lakinas DePaul Blue Demons with Bella Xavier at 11 o'clock a.m. on FS1. I'll see what she'll be watching that game at high noon on the SEC network tomorrow. Vanderbilt will take on number 5 Tennessee. That should be a good battle there. At high noon on CBS, number 16 Wisconsin will take on number 7 Purdue. We talked about Wisconsin on our last couple of shows, Lakina. I think they can get Purdue trouble. Purdue lost earlier this week, so I think they're vulnerable to get that second loss tomorrow. Call me crazy, but I think it can happen.
or they may not be in a very good mood either with that loss. That was a tough loss. Matt Payne was not very happy after the game. So,
Yeah.
it could be a nice little battle there. That'll be interesting down there. Now, going back to that Vandy Tennessee game, remember Vandy beat Tennessee in Nashville a couple of weeks ago. So I'm sure Tennessee, like I said, they lost earlier this week, so they really may not be in a good mood. So that should be a fun one down there in Knoxville. Illinois State meets Indiana State at noon on ESPN Plus. CBS Sports Network, as always, when these two teams match up, you got Army and Navy. It's at 12:30 on CBS Sports Network. At 1 o'clock should be a good one here in the Big 12. You got Arizona hosting Houston. That should be a fun one. They're two completely different styles of play, so that should be a fun one down there in Tucson. A little early matchup. It's going to be about 11 a.m. in Tucson, so a little bit of brunch down there in Arizona, folks. West Virginia and Baylor at 1 on ESPN2. The CW Network, they continue their doubleheader as Virginia and Virginia Tech face each other at 1 o'clock. Washington and Penn State, that's going to be on the Big Ten Network. Georgetown and Butler on FS1 at 1. Northern Illinois meets Ball State at ESPN Plus at 1. Duquesne and Dayton at 1:30 on USA Network, I should say. UConn and Seton Hall on Fox. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, that's going to be at 2 o'clock. Morehead State and Western Illinois at 1:30 on ESPN Plus. Mizzou and Georgia at 2:30 on SEC Network. Let's see here. And the big one here, the Iron Bowl hoop style, as the top two teams in the country, both from Alabama, Auburn and Alabama at 3 o'clock on ESPN. That should be one.
I think there's going to be a lot of offense in that game. I won't be surprised if both those teams end up in the 80s or high 80s or low 90s. I think it'll be a little bit of a stretch, but I expect offense from both these teams, especially with Bruce Spur leading the charts there in Auburn.
Should be a fun matchup. Game day, the college basketball version of game days are going to be down there as well. That place is going to be rocking. That should be a fun one, kind of changing up a little bit, so that should be fun. Stanford and Duke at 3 o'clock on ABC. Got Iowa State hosting Cincy on ESPN2. As we go into the later afternoon games, Minnesota and USC at 3 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. And the battle and the Egg Bowl again hoop style as Mississippi State and Ole Miss play each other on ESPN2. It's good to see when those two teams are right there ranked in basketball side. That should be fun at 5 o'clock on ESPN2.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock on the big ESPN, North Carolina will face Syracuse in the Carrier Dome up there in upstate New York. North Carolina needs to basically win out in the regular season and do well in the ACC tournament. So big game for both teams there. LSU and Oklahoma at the same time on the SEC network in Big 12 play. Oklahoma 16-8, LSU to 12-12. So big game for Porter Moser and crew. And we'll go to the primetime games as Lakina mentioned at the top of this segment. Number 11, Michigan State will face the Fighting Illini tomorrow night down there in Champaign at 7 o'clock on the Big Fox Network. As I referenced to a few moments ago, Illinois should have beaten Michigan State a couple of Sundays ago in East Lansing. It didn't happen. A big game for both of these teams. Michigan State, they lost at Indiana with the Hoosiers early this week. Illinois, big win against UCLA to get back on track. What gives here in this matchup, in your view?
I think Illinois has to set the tone early. They've got to get sharp on their 3-point shooting and their rebounding. Jacquionis, remember he did not play in that game against Michigan State, that early matchup. So that's going to be a big difference there. He'll be definitely a big factor in this game. Now, like I said, Michigan State might be in a very good mood. Remember if they win this game, Tom Izzo takes over the leader of most Big Ten wins on the hoop side. So there's going to be a lot. I'm sure he probably wouldn't mind doing that against one of their rivals in Illinois. Like I said, after losing Indiana at home, they may not be in a very good mood either. So it's going to be interesting to see how the tone is set for this matchup tomorrow.
Yep, at 7:30. Oh, before we get to the rest of the schedule, I think for me the key, the main ingredient key for the Illini tomorrow is rebounding. Do not give up any multiple chances to Michigan State in terms of offensive rebounds, and make sure you set the tempo early. I'm looking for another advantage for the Illini: fast break points, rebounding, and fast break points. If the Illini lead in those two categories, they should win this game. It's going to be tough. I think they'll come out there barely with a 2-point win.
Should be a fun matchup down there in Champaign. Number 15, Kentucky at Texas at the same time on the big ESPN. On ESPN Plus, you got TCU and Arizona State. UC Santa Barbara against UC Riverside on ESPN Plus. South Carolina and Florida at 7:30 on SEC Network. K-State, they've been playing very well lately. BYU, they need this where they want to have a chance of being on the bubble. That's going to be at 8 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Kansas at Utah at 9 o'clock on ESPN. A little Big 12 action there. Boise State and San Diego State at 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Yeah, Wazoo, Washington State, and St. Mary's on 9 o'clock on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. And and that's it for a lot of the Saturday night matchups.
Sunday at 11 a.m. on ESPN. I get to watch this in real time. My guy, Penny Hardaway, his 14th ranked Memphis Tigers, they'll play Wichita State. Those two teams always battle when they meet against each other. That's at 11 a.m. on ESPN Plus. No, sorry, on the big ESPN, I should say. At high noon on CBS, number 20, Michigan will battle Ohio State. No, this is not football, folks. This is basketball. Ohio State, they need this win badly to try to keep their faint tournament hopes alive. Michigan is ranked number 20 in the country right now with a 9-5 record. And locally on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus at 1 o'clock on Sunday, Bradley at 26 to take on Drake. They're 23-2. So this is a bigger game, in my opinion, for Bradley. They're right behind Drake for that top spot in the Missouri Valley Conference.
Yeah, they're tied for third because I think Northern Iowa is second. But yeah, they definitely need this win to. They've kind of been falling off a little bit, so hopefully they can get back on track. Playing Drake at Drake, they showed a little bit of vulnerability, so we'll see what happens there. And our girl Christine Manick from KXRB, she was out here in South Dakota. I wonder if she's gonna be watching this match on CBS Sports. Never got South Dakota State to South Dakota. That should be a fun one down there. Actually, not too far from where she is at Hamilton, Vermillion, South Dakota. So that should be a fun one. And Creighton and St. John's on FS1 at 2. Both these teams are coming off losses, so we'll see who's gonna want to not gonna be in a good mood for this game. So it should be a fun one.
Yeah.
Down there at MSG, Missouri State and UIC. UIC, they've fallen off a little bit too, so we'll see if they can get back on track at 2 o'clock. Shout out to our buddy Jay Hood on ESPN Plus as they host Missouri State.
And Nebraska will travel to Evanston to take on the Northwestern Wildcats. That's at 2 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. Nebraska has been struggling too as of late, but they're still 16-9 on the year. And Northwestern checks in with a 13-12 record. Of course, they lost their last game to Oregon by 6. So we'll see what happens here in Evanston on Sunday.
Should be a fun matchup there. Sorry for the noise in the background, folks. My sister is doing something. Good one here in the Mountain West Conference, getting a little national love. You got Utah State, New Mexico at 3 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Iowa and Maryland is at 4 o'clock on FS1. And you got Rutgers and Oregon. This could be an elimination game for the bubble side. That's going to be on 6 o'clock on FS1. Louisville and Notre Dame at 7 o'clock on ACC Network. And Valpo and Evansville at 7 o'clock on ESPN Plus. And that is your schedule for this weekend in men's college hoops. All right, you listen to Second City Sports on Sports Social Chicago. Lakeena McGee, Sydney Brown with you. We'll stay with the college hoops, but we're going to talk a little women's college hoops as a big matchup commenced yesterday. Yeah, I saw that, and a nice performance by Miss Juju Watkins. Of course, UCLA. Of course, now they're undefeated, so there are no more undefeated on the women's side in women's hoops, unfortunately. But I guess that's a good thing. But she had 38 points, was a season high for her. I'm talking about Miss Watkins. 11 rebounds and 5 assists and 8 blocks. Now, I'll give you a little bit of quiz. The last time that the USC women beat a number 1 team, it's been let's just say it's been a minute.
I'm not on Google. I'll be fair.
All right. Go ahead. I'll let you guess. When's the last time the UCLA women beat a number 1 team on the women's side in hoops?
1982.
Oh, you're close. 1983. That was the national championship team. You almost had it. Say, yeah. That was when Cheryl Miller, she had 38 points, similar numbers to I think 38 points. I think like 6 blocks. I think she had like 9 assists as she led to her and the women of Troy. They beat Kim Mulkey, Deborah Rodman, who's Dennis Rodman's older sister in Louisiana Tech. To keep them from not only going undefeated but also going back to back. So a nice win for Juju Watkins and the and the lady of Troy. They go by Trojans, but yeah, like I said, no more undefeated on the women's side, and a nice win for the Trojans. I know I know they had to slow down the last couple of games, but the fact that they were able to, they outscored the Brewers 24-8 in the fourth quarter. So nice win for the Trojans.
Yeah, another nice win from them last night, and we talked about this last month, Lakina, when they went to UConn to take on the Huskies. I know Paige Buckets and Beckers had got hurt in that game, but this team has been tested all year, both at home and on the road. So it looks like USC will be primed for another run in March Madness, like they were last year. I know they fell short losing to UConn last year in their regional final, but Juju Watkins is that chick. No pun intended. No disrespect. She is the Michael Jordan of college basketball right now. She's in my mind surpassed Caitlin Clark right now. So it's an honor and a joy to watch her play. I want to see what she brings for March Madness.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun on the women's side. It's good to see the Rays are still pretty solid, even though, yeah, you got no Caitlin Clark and such, but nice to see that it's still a lot of buzz on the women's side, even though there's no, like I said, no more undefeated, so it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to affect it. But yeah, look, you still got South Carolina, actually South Carolina and UConn, they actually play each other at noon on Saturday. On Sunday, I should say, that's gonna be on ABC and Disney Plus. So that's a nice little showcase game for them. So it should be a fun matchup down there in Columbia. No loss between Gio Marima and Don Staley, so that should be a fun one. That's gonna be at noon on Sunday on ABC and also streaming on Disney Plus.
Yeah, so the female college basketball game, as we said at the beginning of the year, Lakina, they need to take advantage of some of the time slots now with the NFL being over with now and the NBA's at their All-Star break. They need to put these games on where people like me that haven't had a chance to watch them as much as they want to, they can watch them at a decent hour where people are up and about. So shout out to ABC for putting that game on at noon on Sunday. I'll definitely be watching.
Should be interesting to see. Like I said, it's gonna be up against you got gonna be some men's matchups coming up as well. So it should be a good matchup down there in Columbia. Now, real quick before we get ready for our NBA panel, All-Star panel for the NBA and of course / Bulls. Aaron Rodgers has been told by the Jets, kind of giving them their walking papers, if you will. So we talked about this. It's all official now, but with the Eagles, with having their parade right now as we speak, where do you think Rodgers does? Does he retire? Does he go somewhere else?
He's probably in his dark cave right now, thinking things over. But if I have to place a bet today, I think he's going to find a way to play somewhere next year. We'll get into this more on Monday. I know we kind of threw some teams out there on our last show, but I think he's going to find a way to play. He should retire, but my gut feeling says he's going to find a way to play for next year.
All right. Okay. So our number one in the book. Well, you know what? Yeah. I mean, look, you got guys like Rodgers and Debo, Cooper Kupp. I mean, like I said, we'll get into all that on Monday, but it's going to be interesting to see what. Some free agencies and trades and such. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting what happens, but should be fun offseason coming up in the NFL as usual.
Mm-hmm. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun. The Second City Sports # Friday Fun continues with our Bulls NBA Power Hour All-Star First Half Edition. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the hashtag Friday Fun Edition. You're locked and loaded and live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow me at Kenny McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
This is our Chicago Bulls / NBA Power Hour. The NBA is taking a break to celebrate All-Star Weekend in San Francisco, but we have a lot to discuss regarding the Bulls and the rest of the NBA. And are you excited about All-Star Weekend in the new format? We'll discuss that and a whole lot more. If you have any questions or comments for our illustrious panel, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Again, we'll get the up on the screen for you.
Well, everyone's here, Sid. So let's introduce him. Introduce them, please.
All right. First up, he's our leadoff guy. He's been with us for a while. He didn't join us in October, but he's back with us. RIP to the late great Ricky Henderson, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. He is our version of Ricky Henderson from On Air Daily. Here's our man, Mr. Joshua M. Hicks. Josh, welcome back.
Yay!
Sid, Lakina, hope all is well with you all. It's been a minute, but I'm glad to be back on the show. Appreciate it.
All
yeah,
right,
definitely glad to have you back.
Nice to have you back, Josh. Now, he's another one of our favorites from CHGO Bulls. He does pre and post. It always has a good outlook when it comes to the Bulls, whether they deserve it or not. He's the one, the only, the super cool Mr. Big Dave Watson. Dave, how are you?
Hey.
Peace and love to all the lovers out there, man. What's up with y'all?
Oh, we're doing good.
Great to have you on the program.
What's good, Big Dave?
Man. My man Josh, what's up, brother?
All right, let's continue. It's another one of our favorites from the base. He's one of the founders there. Like I said, he always tells us like it is. He's one of our favorites. He's the one, the only, the fabulous Mr. Terrence Tomlin. What's up, T? How are you?
What's going on, everybody? Like my man Dave said, shout out to all you lovers out there today. So happy Valentine's Day to all who are partaking. But I'm happy to be around family to talk some Chicago Bulls.
Oh yeah, absolutely. A nice touch with the Bob Marley in the background. Love that photo. Love that picture.
One love.
No
How
doubt.
fitting. How fitting. So introduce our last but not least, Sid. Introduce him, please.
Yeah, he made his debut on our program back in October, previewing the Bulls in the NBA season. He's back with us again for the All-Star break. From Bulls on Tap, here's the talented Mr. Morris Bankston. Morris, welcome back to the show, my man.
What's going on, y'all?
There we go.
What's up? How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling great and definitely excited to be on. And with all these illustrious luminaries of Chicago sports, so yeah, glad to be here.
Good to see you, Morris, man.
Yeah.
Well, look, for everyone, Sandy, we'll keep the Bulls talk to a minimum. I know Terrence. Terrence. Yeah, we'll keep it to a bit. But like I said, this will be my only Bulls question because they don't really deserve much time for any of us. So with all this that's going on right now with the Bulls, AK, and then there's something come up about Alonzo Ball, of course, to sign a contract. There was a team that wanted to trade it for, were willing to give him a first round pick. AK told him no. So, Josh, I'll start with you. What do you think the Bulls' next step should be, and what they're gonna do, as we get to the rest of the season?
Tank, rebuild, burn everything that had AK all over it. I don't know whichever option works for me. All the above. At this present moment. Because the reality is the franchise is running around like chickens with their heads cut off. There's no direction. There's a lot of mediocrity. And unfortunately, you have no plan B after your plan A failed. This has always been the key ever since Lonzo Ball first got hurt when they first assembled this team back during the COVID era. I want to say it was 2021-ish. So unfortunately, when you don't have a plan, people perish. And Bulls fans are perishing. And they have every right to do so because for so long, the Bulls have not gotten back to the relevancy nor the status of success, winning games-wise, that they were accustomed to. And AK and Mark Everson were brought in to revive that, to bring that, and they brought a little bit of hope. there was actually for once in Chicago since Derrick Rose a little bit of hope. And unfortunately, after that headache took place, after that situation took place, everything derailed. The Bulls never recovered. And quite honestly, it's gotten worse. Every year it's gotten worse in some way, shape, or form. And because of that, it's hard to trust what this front office is trying to do. It's hard to trust the direction that they're trying to go, whatever that direction may be. Just scrap it, go completely rebuild, give someone else another chance, tank for Cooper Flag, do what you got to do, like to make sure we got some type of stardom and a direction going place. At least we can go somewhere instead of running around in mediocrity and practicing insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think you left one thing out though, and that's prayer, because they need that too. You know what I mean? Like, bro, like that's where we at. That's where we at with this team, bro. Like the only strategy is for me is hope and luck. And as I say all the time, hope is not a strategy. You know, so like I don't know what they're gonna do. They have to have some things fall in their favor. You know, things have to happen in spite of them. And because you can't push and pull. Like they seem like they're doing both. Like, yeah, we understand we want to be bad, but who knows? We might make the play in. Yeah, we want to get, you know what I'm saying, a superstar, but you know, we can get just 9 or 10 good players and maybe go to a championship, which has never happened in the history of the NBA. So like, I don't understand where they're at. You can't, and AK is secretive, right? But you can't be secretive and incompetent. You know what I mean? Like you can't be both, bro. You know what I mean? You got to pick one. Like you could be secretive, like because I'm like that. You know what I mean? Like I'm quiet about stuff I do. You know what I mean? But that's just, you know, I'm from here. You know what I mean? Chicago Cats. That's just how we are. You know, right. I'm quiet about stuff I do. But if I tell you I got it, you better believe I got it. You know, if I tell you that's my word, bro, my word is my bond. Like I mean when I say I got it. I got it. I'm gonna take care of it. AK sat up there. I still remember the press conference. He sat up there and was like, hey, just watch what we do. Hey, don't worry about it. Watch what we do. I got this. Don't watch what we do. And he came back with Goran Dragic and Andre Drummond and was like, all right, we good now, right? Like, no, bro. Like, like I'm very confused when I see him do things. I don't understand. And it trickles down to, you know, Billy, because I don't fully blame Billy Donovan for what's going on. But when you're doing stuff like this, everybody gets a piece of it. You know, whether it's winning or losing, I think everybody gets a piece. So watching what Billy does as far as, you know, the modest minutes and things like that, and Kevin Huerter playing more minutes, like but it's hard for me to be mad at him when you gave this man 6 point guards. As a matter of fact, you got 9 total, but 6 point guards on your team, bro. Like, I don't know what they're doing. I have no clue. I don't think he knows what he's doing either. You know, hoping that they, you know, lose, obviously tank, like Joshua said. Let's get these tank wins going on and hopefully get in this draft and walk away with a guy like Ace Bailey. If they get the number 1 pick, obviously Cooper Flag. I personally want Ace Bailey. But yeah, man, they got to get in those situations, man, because they have to do stuff in spite of themselves.
Terrence?
I mean, you guys really, you know, have already said it all. It's been an incompetence overload for our boy AK. For the last few years, and it feels like it should be coming to a head. I feel like any respectable organization would be ready to push the button and get rid of Arturas Karnisovas, but we know that we're talking about the Chicago Bulls. And, you know, to piggyback on what Josh said, you know, they don't do good with plan A, B, C, D, E. You know, this is like plan F right now, you know. So I think what's next for the Bulls is they're going to have to take that roster to the swap. You know, what should have been done maybe 2 or 3 years ago is going to have to be done over the summer, but they couldn't get done at the trade deadline. I was talking to our boy Drew Stevens about the fact that Vooch is still on his team. And I remember having a conversation with him like in the first couple weeks of the season, like Vooch is playing like a guy that knows he'll be gone at the trade deadline. He's trying to make it sweet for the Bulls organization to make it easy for him to move, and they could not get it done. And then we hear Arturas say, oh yeah, over the summer we'll have a market. And I don't know who he thinks he's talking to. You know what I mean? Because, and shout out to Julia Poe, who wrote the piece yesterday, but who actually believes that anybody around the league is willing to give up anything for any Bulls player. He's going to have to let them go for whatever he can get and start to truly build this roster because, like you said, Dave, the build of this roster is absolutely atrocious. It's embarrassing. You got so many guards and people that should not be on this team. It's laughable. So we may get those tank wins just because the team is built so terribly and the morale of the team is so low that it's almost impossible to win. You got my boy Io out here ready to steal out somebody. That's how you know things are terrible. So the Bulls are so far in the hole. I'm not sure what the next step really, distinctively has to be to get out. But I just know a lot of things have to go right that haven't gone right for our tourists and the Bulls so far.
Morris?
Yeah, I mean, very truthfully, it's very little different, I'm going to say, than what y'all just said, right? I would add this. So I just finished up a year writing for Bulls on Tap. I really came into Bulls on Tap getting on AK's case with the 2024 NBA trade deadline because that was boo-boo, to be quite frank. And so we're here a year later. Dude is doing what he always does, the exact same thing, which is nothing. And the way, when I do get the questions about what should the Bulls be doing, what's next? The only way I've been able to answer that for probably the last 4 or 5 months, to be honest, is there's what the Bulls should be doing, and then here's what I actually expect AK to do. And what the Bulls should be doing, what the Bulls should have done a week or two ago, is completely blow up this this bum roster they got right now. And it's not to say the players are bum, but it's just you can't just have talent that don't fit. And that's been the problem with his entire regime, to be quite frank. There was a glimmer of hope in that first season where all the moves happen. You bring in Vooch, you try to at least go and do something and bring in DeMar and Lonzo. Even then, there were still moves he should have made going back then in that 21-22 season. We were undersized even when we were the number 1 seed. So this whole roster should be blown up because it's been proven for 3 straight seasons that it's mid at best. It's a 10 seed. We're going to be a 10 seed even though we just got rid of Zach. Somehow we're still going to be stuck in this play-in. So it don't matter what we do. We a 10 seed. That's just facts. So what should have been done is this entire roster should have been blown up and assets should be brought in to fuel a rebuild. What AK is doing, and I just said this, I was on the Cash Considerations pod that just dropped today. I said this, I'm after what AK just did with this latest trade deadline, I'm firmly convinced this man has no intention of ever leading a rebuild for the Chicago Bulls. And everything he's doing, everything he continues to do is to preserve what he thinks is his best possible outcome, which is trying to fight for a play-in thing. If he was truly entering this franchise to rebuild, Lonzo Ball would not be on the Chicago Bulls today. So the report, John Hollinger from the Athletic had that report. He came out with the report that said the Bulls had an offer for a first-round pick. What I want to also point out is John Hollinger also had a report about a week ahead for the Athletic. They actually broke down the financials of the aftermath of trading Zach LaVine to Sacramento Kings. And the math there, if you look at that math, I'm just going to say it. This is my own personal opinion. Call it conspiracy theory if you want. AK's blueprint for what he's about to do this summer is in John Hollinger's report about the math of what was created by trading Zach LaVine. The Bulls, and I'm just going to paraphrase, the Bulls have $30 million in cap room after trading Zach, and $10 million additional just for the next specific season. $10 million sounds familiar to us all, right? Because guess what? Lonzo Ball got a $10 million extension. That leaves $20 million left. I'm just going to say it. Josh Giddey about to get $20 million, and AK about to do this and be like, let's go win. Mm-hmm. That's what AK is going to do. Mm-hmm. Not what I would do, but that's what he's finna do.
That's because you're sane.
Yeah. Well, look. This makes me glad I can't watch Bulls. Me having YouTube TV. So, and I've got nothing. Sid?
I want to piggyback off of Morris's point about AK and Mark Eversley coming in here. They were told to fix it right away, and they did with the moves with Lonzo Ball and Vooch and so on and so forth with DeMar DeRozan. Here's the thing: we were under the delusion as Bulls fans that the Rhinestars gave AK and Eversley control to basically rebuild this roster, but I'm getting the sense that through this trade deadline, by just trading Zach LaVine, the Bulls are not totally giving Mark Eversley full control of rebuilding this roster. I think they're still told that they're still expected. You could do both, rebuild, but still win at the same time. And especially in today's NBA, you cannot do that. And by the look of the draw, even though the Bulls are 11 games under 500, they still in 10th place in the play-in. Go figure that out. Philadelphia and Brooklyn, we'll get to Philadelphia in just a moment, but the teams right behind them, they really are not trying to win either. But if the Bulls just win maybe 10 more games, which is, it looks like impossible the way they played over these last few weeks, they'll find themselves in the play-in. And the Rhinestars somehow will be happy again to get 1 or 2 games extra from the NBA because they hosted the play-in game. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean the whole thing with and I think Moish, I think you said it, like Sid said it too. I mean, Philadelphia, they're tanking. Embiid's probably, he might as well just sell out the rest of the year. The other teams behind him, they're not doing anything. So yeah, unfortunately, the Bulls will probably get into that 10th spot and we'll probably play an extra game, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, even if they do, do the whole tanking and blow it up and stuff, do you trust AK and Eversley to rebuild it back up? That's really going to be the key here. Our Bulls fans will be willing to, take it whatever long, whether it's 2-3 years for it to rebuild. I don't think a lot of Bulls fans would like that, but again, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
I mean, I would just say no, categorically no, because first thing about tanking, right? Like that's not a February decision to make. That was a decision they need to make this past summer, and you need to be lined up in terms of like what your organizational priorities were going to be, what the roster was going to look like. Him and Billy needed to agree on like who was getting the minutes in order to now explicitly tank, right? You can't say it out loud to the league, but you really needed to be playing a roster that was not like trying to squeeze out an extra 2 or 3 wins for the season. So he missed the mark on that. He continues to carry, he carried vets that were like just not in alignment with that idea. Then there's the aspect of like, even if he were to get a top 5 pick, if he were to get a top 5 pick in this draft, I legitimately have fear about him holding that. I feel like that's putting a blunt instrument, a loaded weapon in an unqualified person's hands, quite frankly. Like he has not demonstrated a track record where he knows how to acquire superstar talent at this point. It's been 5 seasons, and it's like I don't think that's a controversial thing to say anymore. Like I don't think that's something where like you give him the benefit of the doubt or it's a circumstantial judgment. Like his track record says, I want a non-shooting wing at every single point in life I can get one. It's point guards and non-shooting wings, and this random big center who couldn't even get out of the G League.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you think I'm smart and like this man of mystery while I'm doing it. That's what he does.
Right.
So, no, I don't trust him to do a rebuild. And he might not even trust himself to do a rebuild, to be quite honest, which might be why he won't just commit to it.
Goodness.
No, it's like a cartoon supervillain, bro. Like it's really just bad. You know what I mean? Like you look the part, but you can't act the part. You know what I mean? Like he looks like it, but he truly doesn't know what he's doing. And that's sad to say. Like it hurts me when I see somebody just not have that kind of logic, going into these kind of positions. Because being a executive for the Chicago Bulls is supposed to be like, oh man, we're going to turn this around. Like you see the banners, you see the championships. You want to provide fans who come on out and show you all this. You want to provide them with something to cheer for. But now this shit showed up, and I mean, it got off to a terrible start with how they started off with the network and how they did it, not getting signed to Comcast. I believe they've lost the most viewership of any team in the NBA, which which is saying something, because Bulls fans, no matter what, have shown over the years, they're showing up to that stadium, and they're going to watch the team. When they become, indifferent to it, then you really, really, truly have an issue. And when it just become numb, to it, it's a problem. That means there's no feeling for you. There's no love. There's no hate. It's just, all right. That's the worst. You don't ever want to get on that level in any kind of sport or any kind of relationship. You don't want to get on that level, bro. And it feels like the Bulls are there, and you have a front office who you can't trust to do the right thing, who says the things that they want to do, and those things also don't make sense either. So it's very confusing, sitting there listening to them and watching what they do. I think Morris is right as far as Josh Giddey is concerned. I don't think they have any desire to truly, truly start over, because you haven't shown that you have that desire to actually go out and do that. Like trading Zach LaVine should have been the start of just everything. Like, you're getting rid of your best player. Okay, well then that means we're starting over. I don't know another team that says we're getting rid of our best player and it doesn't mean we're starting over, unless you're the Dallas Mavericks and you're like, I'm gonna trade Luka, but at least I'm gonna get Anthony Davis back and try to go do something. The Bulls said, no, we're gonna get this Zach Collins and Kevin Huerter combo going on up in here, with this Clay Jones, we're gonna get it popping. And then these guys get here, and then Zach Collins can't even get on the floor for some reason, which I still don't understand. But like, it's just very confusing in what they want to do and how they want to do it. I can't put this on the players. Players play. Like, their job is to go out there and play and try to win. Their job is not go out there, and stink it up. They want to win. They want to do things. I understand that. And I feel so I don't put any of that on them. The job is of the front office to not put the players in that position. If you want to be a team that wins, then go show that. I ain't gonna like it, but damn, go show it. Go do it. Fine. You want to keep making a play in? Go ahead. You want to start over? Show it. Do the things necessary to completely start over. But this in the middle stuff that they're doing, this is where the frustration comes in. This is where you become indifferent to the team. This is where you just start not caring because you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
Terrence,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I dropped out. I was, catch me up real quick, Lakina.
Well, just no. Do you, if the Bulls do decide to finally blow it up, do you trust AK and Eversley to do that, to rebuild it?
So now the comment from Morris about giving somebody a weapon that ain't ready to use it makes all the sense as well. Because
yes, sir.
Absolutely not. This is this is a situation that I feel mirrors a lot of the situations going on with other teams in Chicago. If we want to see some real change, they have to start changing things from the top up. As far up as they could possibly get. And AK, I feel like, I remember the days where we used to say, oh, it's not enough of a sample size to put a full scope of things. That's not the case anymore. My man has missed on the majority of his moves. His philosophy makes us feel like he's clueless when it comes to building a mid team, trying to knock it all down and build it, a team that's championship caliber is not something that I feel he's qualified for. He hasn't shown that he is. This is all based on what we've seen. I wish it was different. I was ready for AK to be the guy to come in and be the knight in shining armor after Garpax, and it has not been that. And so it can't be too hard to say goodbye. Unfortunately, I feel like the cluelessness may go above AK, which is why we get reports like we got yesterday about AK being safe, which is absolutely ludicrous. How and why? Why for? Okay. So I'm definitely I'm one of the guys that thinks that if the Bulls want to really build this thing and get a rebuild going, somebody else needs to be in charge. The more control he has over the rebuild, the less likely I feel they are to overcome some of their hurdles. And I think they're just in a situation where they're staring at an elephant in the room, and they're like, okay, so who's gonna be the first one to blink? And it has to be Michael Reinsdorf coming in to make some sense out of this situation. We saw it, and I bring up the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know that they're still in the GM search, but at the beginning of free agency, they were, we're sticking with our guy, even though the rest of the world hates him. Until they was like, oh, the rest of the world really hates this guy. So I really feel like it's on the fan base. I think that when the summertime comes, it's going to be a slap in the face. As far as it's going to hit them in the face that AK is not the one to make these moves. I don't think the rest of the league respects Arturis. And I think that is the writing on the wall is going to be clearer and clearer that AK, his time, has to be numbered. But to answer your question, Lakina, no, I don't think that AK is the guy for the job. I'm hoping that, some sense prevails over there, at the madhouse and the surrounding areas. But I think that, the outlook is real bleak.
Mm-hmm. Josh?
No, I can't trust AK to do anything right with a rebuild. I can't do it. The fact that we're having this conversation right now and the Detroit Pistons are sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference, doing as well as they are, and they've been trashed through this rebuild process for literally a little over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they finally get over the hump. They trusted their own version of the process, got over the hump, and now they're in the playoff hunt, doing better than the Bulls. You would have thought we were crazy at this point, but it's literally our reality. And that should really be a slap in the face to Chicago fans in general, not just because of the fact that they're only a couple hours up the street or north from us, but at the same time, this is in your division and this is a rivalry. Like, this used to be a rivalry. This used to be a franchise in your central division that you had to make sure you demolished every season and gave them no hope after that championship window ended. Now they're back into the playoff picture, not just competing, but an actual playoff picture that you couldn't get over the hump in your own selves after all this time with the changes being made. They made their own changes of a rebuild. Finally got the right people in place. Now they got a culture. They developed their superstars. Cade Cunningham is having a heck of a year. They actually went through this process of what it takes to not only, change the front office and change the culture of the team, but also developing the players that are surrounding the stars you truly are trying to keep and you want there for the long haul. They actually developed and grew to where now they're in the playoff picture. We'll see if it pans out throughout the rest of the year because we got the second half of the season. But so far, the future's looking that much brighter in Detroit. Motown is looking so good right now, while we looking trash as hell. and unfortunately, this is where we lie, and we're trusting someone that already given a blueprint saying that they cannot handle this. This job is too big for himself to handle, and he can't do it even with the surrounding forces around him. So, like T said, you would hope that by the end of the season, a light bulb somehow clicks in her head and they say, oh, we actually realize we can't win anymore. Let's actually make some moves. Like, you would hope that actually happens. But the reality is we know that's probably not going to happen. And because it's not going to happen, this debacle of a state that the Bulls are in is going to diminish so bad that it's unbearable to watch. There's a reason why, if I'm the Reinsdorfs and I'm looking at what Big Dave said, where they talk about the viewership is down so much, bro, there's a reason why. Check it out. Do some work, check it out and figure out why that is. Because last time I checked, even though you may have the 4th highest attendance in the world, when it comes to your attendance in the sports and in the league, you still are also people's not watching your games, and that's also going to be a huge hit with this new CBA coming in. So you need to, pay attention to those type of things. And I think if they were smart, they would go to the drawing board and figure it out this summer. But it is very, very abundantly clear. Arturis Karnisovas, Mark Eversley, y'all can't get this job done, and y'all have failed for the tenure that you're there. It is time for y'all to start searching for your way out before they actually let you out.
I want
to tell Josh that, man. Just real quick, Morris. Josh, I'm so glad you said that about Detroit, because when I was on CHGO Bulls the other day, I said exactly that. I said I hate the Bulls right now because they have made me like watching the Detroit Pistons, and I enjoy watching the Detroit Pistons play. and I hate it. You know what I mean? Because it's the Pistons, bro. But I love watching them play. Like I love what they're doing over there, and it gets on my nerves, man. Sorry, Morris. Sorry, bro.
I'm glad you brought that up because. So I was going to piggyback on something Josh said and then something Terrence said as well. But let me piggyback immediately on that because guilty as charged. Like, man, I watched a couple of the Pistons preseason games just to start getting a feel for like what the matchup was going to look like for the Bulls this season, and they were a completely like 180 team right out of the gate because they got a new executive in Trajan Langdon. Then Trajan Langdon goes and gets JB Bickerstaff, and Cleveland Cavs fans might have some hard feelings about him, but he came in with an agenda and he got them boys playing fundamental, solid basketball. He made sense for what they had already, and it shouldn't be a shock to anybody who's like consistently watching NBA basketball that the Pistons are where they are now. Like I really had a gut feel that like the Pistons were going to actually make a surprise showing and be in something like a 6 seed like they are now. So the Pistons. So yeah, like I think any self-respecting Bulls executive should be really pissed off that the Pistons are as good as they are, as quickly as they are, and be concerned because that's a legitimate data point of what just happened. Oh, like, what if the Bulls change their front office and coaching staff? What could we do with, supposedly the talent is on this roster? Even though I don't know if the talent is necessarily on par with what Detroit has right now, but there's a lot of things to be upset. If nothing else, man, the Pistons coming to United Center with some self-esteem, like, that should never feel good. Like I go all the way back to like Bad Boys Pistons. I don't ever want to see that. And I have a problem. I do have a problem with that as a Bulls fan. We can't have them coming in there just like swagging and John. You got Fontecchio talking like, what is this? What is this? It's supposed to be a Bulls Pistons game, and like it don't. Like on the Bulls side, it didn't look like that. But the point I want to connect with both UT and Josh is I completely agree. So first, with Terrence, what you're saying about Michael Reinsdorf. My latest Bulls on Tap column actually was effectively it was a reaction to Arturas Karnisovas's like wild presser after the trade deadline ended, and it's an open letter to Michael Reinsdorf. That's where it's at to me. Like I have no confidence and I have no expectation that Arturas Karnisovas is going to change anything in the Bulls organization at this point. And if change is going to happen, it's going to have to happen because Michael Reinsdorf makes a decision to be a hands-on leader of his franchise at this point. Like, yes. I know he would probably prefer to just be like a visionary money dude that's just funding this stuff and letting AK run it. AK he is not proven to be effective as an operator of an NBA franchise basketball operations department at this point. He told on himself when he said all he needs is 9 to 10 good players. And I debunked that statistically in my column as well. So I want to call that out because it's 3 reasons why he can't lead this rebuild. 1, he doesn't understand how NBA competition works for title contention. Clearly, in his own words, he's not respected by his peers because there's a clip that's going around. We talked about Bulls and Tap, and I'm pretty sure, like, Dave, you and Matt, you talked about it on CHGO as well. But there's like a Sam Amick from The Athletic talked about the Athletics annual front office survey. And, AK, basically his whole department is getting, like, the stink face. Like, they just getting thrown under the bus by his peers. So, like, the reason why he's not, like, it puts it in a whole new light, like, the fact that AK went a whole 3 years and didn't make any trades. Like, I no longer believe that is because, like, he didn't want to make trades. He quite possibly just didn't have a partner involved. And, like, they were seeing through him. I'm just hypothesizing. Like, if somebody doesn't respect you, you can't negotiate when you don't have mutual respect. Like, negotiations are a function of whatever the relationship is between the two parties. Whether you've known each other for a long time or if you need to go buy a used car off Craigslist, you got to have some fundamental exchange of values and stuff there. And when AK continues to basically not command any respect, I doubt that anything that he's talking to other executives, they're going to take that seriously. The fact that Vooch is still a Bull is prime example, right? Like asking for a first rounder for a 34-year-old formerly washed center who is going to decline back to a mean of his performance. Like, that is insane. Pure insanity. So, Michael Reinsdorf, and I'm like, where you at, dude? Because this is on you at this point. And you can say, like, he's the one to fix it, you are ultimately the only person who's going to fix this. AK is not fixing this for you.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago and our Bulls NBA Power Hour. Joshua M. Hicks, Big Dave Watson, Morris Banks, and Terrence Tomlin joining our panel. I'm Sid the Kid along with Miss Lakina McGee. As Lakina would say, enough of this Bulls talk. Let's get into the rest of the NBA. Terrence, I'll start with you. We had a bunch of trades over the last couple weeks leading up to that February 6th trade deadline. We'll start with the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka Doncic was a part of that 3-team trade with Utah and Dallas, of course. Anthony Davis, who is now hurt with the Dallas Mavericks, of course, with LeBron James the other night. They split against Utah. Are the Lakers a playoff team or still a play-in team like they've been the last couple of years?
I think the Lakers are going to straddle that play-in fence. For the rest of this season, I think that Luka trade was definitely a move for the future. A move as they get ready to shed that LeBron weight. And who knows, how much time LeBron really has, or if the Lakers feel like they want to move him over the summer or something like that. But they now have, they can sleep peacefully knowing that when that happens, they'll still have Luka Doncic. So I think from the Dallas Mavericks standpoint, this was definitely a move to try to put them closer to a championship this year with Anthony Davis. And it sucks that he's hurt, because I feel like if he was able to stay healthy, and he was able to give the Mavericks the best of him, that they were definitely a team not to be messed with in the West. But I think that the emphasis is a little bit off of this year for the Lakers. If they are playing team, I think they would be dangerous. If they do make it to the real playoffs, so to say. But Luka and LeBron, getting what they can out of their chemistry for the rest of the season, if anything, is going to be entertaining as hell. Luka's instincts with LeBron looking like he keeps turning back the clock. He like, oh, Luka, where's that special ID? Yeah. So anything to give LeBron a boost is super dope. But it was shocking. It was shocking, but I'm one of the ones who feel like it was more. I think it was a little bit more fair than the initial shock was led on to believe. And I know that Dallas, the fans over there, they're gonna be sick for a long time. They're gonna be sick for a long time. Whatever they did to the basketball guys, I wish I could repent for them, because Anthony Davis being hurt, then Daniel Gafford going down, is just bad on a bunch of fronts. But I like the trade for both teams.
Morris?
Yeah, it's an interesting trade for sure. I think my initial reaction, I woke up, I was one of the people who woke up in that morning to the trade, and I thought I thought it was some real NBA Centel type. I didn't believe it. And I had a real shocking reaction to it. But I will say, I'm just looking at the standings now. So currently actually the Lakers are the 5th seed in the Western Conference, right? So I think the Lakers probably have a slight edge in at least maintaining a legitimate playoff spot at this point. And I rationalize it like this. It's a slim margin. It's a spectrum of 2 games in between the 5th seed and the Mavericks at the 8th seed, ironically, right now. It's a matter of can Luke is there enough firepower? And I think there is, honestly, with the Lakers, where they can just kind of hold steady at that 5 seed level, because depending on how those injuries look with the Mavericks, the Mavericks could fall even Mavericks are the 8th seed right now. They could even fall lower. And then you also have to take in consideration there has been really a seismic change of power in the West at this point, because Lakers, and I'm sure we'll talk about the other trades as well, but the thing that comes to mind is can the Warriors be on a hot streak now that they have Jimmy? Because the dynamic between Jimmy and Steph is interesting. We saw that in the Bulls game when Jimmy debuted with them. I think that's something to keep an eye on, because the top 4 of the West seems pretty solid, but I think there could be a lot of sliding as far as the rest of the West in terms of 5 through 8. But the Lakers, at least, just the sheer fact of having both Luka and LeBron, you kind of have to give them the edge, at least offensively, because like in terms of like will they win playoff series? I don't know, but I think they have enough at least to like be a playoff team.
Josh?
Yeah.
So, as much as I am a fan, supportive fan of LeBron James, and knowing that you can never count LeBron James out in any type of playoff situation because he's just that dude. Unfortunately, I cannot come to the grips of acknowledging that LeBron James is going to go past the play-in tournament in the first round. I just don't see it happening. And this is why. Because the Lakers are hot right now, but they oftentimes have their roller coaster every time in the second half of the season. It's a roller coaster trying to get their stuff together. It's not a guarantee that they're going to stay in that 5th seed in the West. And when you talk about the teams that are beneath them right now, there's no guarantee that they're going to stay where they're at either. Because let's just say Minnesota gets it together and Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle, they find their groove and they get their stuff together. Anthony Edwards has shown that when you put him in prime time in the playoffs, he is going to deliver. And he took them to the Western Conference Finals this year. Could they do it again? It's a pretty decent chance if their ducks line up in a row for the second half of the season. Even when you think about Dallas can get healthy too. If you can finally get the big man healthy and you let Kyrie continue to be the Kyrie Irving that he is, I can't see them, getting knocked out early either. They can make a pretty deep run as well. So it's like, it's a lot of factors, especially with the Lakers, because they also hit the injury bug pretty quite often as well. If they can't stay healthy, on top of the fact that these other teams are starting to get their groove and stuff together in the second half of the season, it is not a guarantee that LeBron James is going to automatically go into the playoffs this year since the first time since the championship Lakers to be able to have an automatic first round bid. I just don't necessarily see that happening at this present rate. But is it possible? Yes. The Luka trade helps for sure because Anthony Davis was also prone to injury around this time as well. So it does help the fact that he has a younger Luka Doncic that can really take a nice portion of the load off of LeBron. However, I think them two are going to be okay. Can anyone else around that team step up and be consistent with the Lakers enough to get them over the hump? And history has told us that the Lakers are very hit and miss with their role players, especially when it comes to the playoff time. So I can't guarantee that the Lakers are going to stay in that 5th seed in the West. I do think they will make the playoffs or the play-in tournament per se, but it's a lot of if factors that have to play into this for them to get to that level.
Oh, okay, yeah. Dave.
I think the word is like shocking. I agree with that. Like the word was shocking when you heard this trade. Like my brother-in-law is a huge Lakers fan. He's from here, but he's a huge Lakers fan. And he hits me. I think every family has like a Shams or a Woj, somebody that just comes to and check to see if the trades are right. I'm my family's Shams or Woj, so they always coming to me. Like, so he hit me up and was like, "Hey man, is this true about the Lakers?" And I was like, "What about like Nikola Vucevic going?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't think Vuce's going." And he was like, "Nah, about this trade." And I went and looked, and I was like, "Oh, I think I need to call you." Like, this is for real. This just went down, brother. This happened. And honestly, he wasn't happy about it because he wanted defense. Like, he understands offense, but he wanted defense. I talked to my Maverick friend, my man John Sabine. Shout out to him. Oh, that dude, look, he's not doing well. He's not doing well at all. At all, he's not doing well. All right, he'll never get over this. But honestly, I felt like T, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was a pretty fair deal on both sides. I understand, it's Luka. This is a top 5 player, you can argue, bro, in the NBA. Putting him with LeBron James, I mean, that's crazy. You know what I mean? That's insane. Like, you're gonna be an exciting team to watch, and I think you will be at least play-in team. I can't put them in the playoffs because of the defense. You just signed Alex Lynn, and you got Jackson Hayes. You know what I mean? Who's a high flyer and a shot blocker for sure. But as far as playing that defense, I just don't see it because you still got to go up against Joker. That's still a possibility. Like, and that's going to be a problem. But as far as like Dallas, I understood it at least. Like, people might not have liked it, but like, you got to understand it when you look at it. Like, you immediately become a top 3 defense in the NBA. And then he gets to play at his natural position at the 4, and Daniel Gafford, is going to be at the 5, who was already one of the best shot blockers in the NBA. You had another one there. Like, that defense is crazy. And then Derek Lively also, is another defender that they can have. Now, like T said, like whatever sage I could burn or whatever passage from the Bible I could read to get that off of them, whatever's going on in Dallas, I'd like to, because they have all 3 centers out right now is crazy work right there. So, but that starting 5, I mean, everybody understands what winning is in that starting 5, when you look at it, and just the fact that they can lean on it defensively now, something they couldn't do previously, just makes them formidable, because Kyrie Irving is still Kyrie Irving. He's still that guy. And Klay Thompson is going to give you a game where he just gets, ridiculously hot from the field. That's going to happen in the playoffs. So I liked it from that sense, and it made all the sense in the world. But it's the West. And the West, man, like you said, Josh, outside of that top 4, like everything else is a crapshoot. You don't know who's going to end up where. You got Golden State still going. You mentioned Morris mentioned Minnesota as well. The Clippers are still there, as a 6th seed. Hell, you can even argue that the Sacramento is fighting to get higher in the play-in. Like everybody, even their teams like San Antonio, like everybody has something in that Western Conference that you have to compete with and battle with, and that's just going to make it tougher for the Lakers. But for their future, I love it. I love it for the Lakers. You can put pieces around Luka and get what he needs as it goes, and this won't be an issue. But as just for this year, yeah, I see them in the play-in. I think LeBron's just too great, and I think Luka is too great for them not to at least make the play-in.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you guys on that one. I think the Lakers will make the play-in now. Will they get beyond that? That's a whole different conversation. I feel Dallas, if AD can stay healthy, because Mavs fans, unfortunately, you're getting the AD experience, folks, with the injury. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it should be an interesting rest of the season, especially when AD does come back.
Right. Let's go into the Eastern Conference. Of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers are the leaders right now. Do we take them seriously, or are we going to see any challenges step up to the forefront like the New York Knicks or the Milwaukee Bucks? Morris, I'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, I've been pretty high on the Cavaliers just really since the beginning of the season, even like some of what they were showing in the preseason. I mean, you just have to give credit to Kenny Atkinson. I think, Kenny Atkinson, he was knocked when he had a stint coaching the Nets, 5-6 seasons ago. It just seems like for all that time he spent on Steve Kerr's bench, he has brought all of that experience to the Cavs, and really just like without much changing of the roster, he really just brought in something, some sort of system or like framework that just makes it all work finally for the Cavs. Because I think there's been fair criticism of like the last 2 or 3 seasons, since they've gone into like that Donovan Mitchell win now mode. Like, are Cavs a real team? Are they a serious team in terms of playoff competition? I think this will be the season where, barring something catastrophic, they seem like they're on a collision course with the Celtics. I just think the amount of winning they've done consistently from jump, like, it's hard to discount that. And also, it's the emergence of Evan Mobley this season. I think is that's the X factor for them. Like, Evan Mobley finally is like owning himself in his game, and it's like he's not being denied anymore. He's figured out like where he fits on the floor, what he can do on ball, and I think that's a scary thing. Honestly, is like the on ball Evan Mobley we've seen this season. That's something that like I wouldn't count that out going head to head with the Celtics. Granted, it's the Celtics, but like that's a real challenge the Celtics got to prepare for. Is like this Cavs team with this Evan Mobley. It's not going to be something they've seen before, I think, in the playoffs.
Dave?
I mean, listen, man, y'all got me to give the Pistons praise earlier. I'm not about to praise the Knicks, bro. Like, that's just not going to happen. But I mean, I give Jalen Brunson for sure get this props. You know what I mean? He gets that, like that Jay-Z line say, I give Jalen his props, but that's where it stops. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gonna get that. He gets that love, bro. So yeah, peace to him. And Karl Anthony Towns has also been playing great, for them, man. But I still think the Knicks are a second round team. I still think that. As far as challenges are concerned, like I think they'll be a tough out, but I think they're a second round squad. But Cleveland, it has definitely been a surprise. I didn't see it coming. I didn't see them playing to this level, being the number 1 seed at all. I thought the coaching change wouldn't be as huge of a deal as it's been. But, I underestimated Kenny Atkinson, man, because I was still looking at Brooklyn Nets Kenny and not the Kenny that was over in Golden State learning, understand some stuff, and then coming back and bringing it to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So much respect to him and the coaching job he's done. Morris is absolutely right about Evan Mobley. He's definitely stepped into his own game, man. Like that dude, he already had it on him that he had that kind of talent and skill. It's one thing to have it, it's another thing to execute it. And he's out there executing it every single night. That I'm that dude. The Cat is Karl Anthony Towns is another great point of that. And watching what he's doing with the Knicks. It's one thing to have all that, but it's another thing to step into it and know that I got this. His confidence levels are definitely increased. Having Donovan Mitchell doesn't hurt at all. Having Darius Garland does not hurt at all. Having their defense is really awesome. So I would love to see them go up against Boston. I think that's the matchup we kind of all want to see because they mirror each other as far as being really good offensively and also being good defensively. So I would like to see that matchup and see how what comes out of that. But you have to give Cleveland their props, man, for what they've done this season.
Yeah, and then they go and add DeAndre Hunter. I mean, that's just
right.
I mean, that kind of scoring power come off the bench. Also, that's the depth move you need to make if you really want to be serious about going against the Celtics.
Yep, absolutely right.
Yeah, Morris, that was one of the moves I was going to bring up to let to throw into the pot that the Cavs are real. They came out the gate on fire and really kept their foot on the gas. Like Dave said, big shout out to Kenny Atkinson who's come in and really helped some of their good players reach a new level. I still think the Celtics are the cream of the crop in the East. The experience is going, to they're going to tip the scale when it comes to experience and things like that. But the Cavs have put together a very formidable opponent. I think where the matchup is going to be crazy, like you guys have said for sure. And I'm not willing to count out the Knicks, man. Dave, I'm kind of shocked that you don't think KAT and Tibbs. Tibbs is waiting for the playoffs to really.
Right.
His cat's knees gonna be ready for the playoffs, though.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Playoffs
exactly.
is where we're going to see
his
true value. I feel like Tibbs is like, the regular season cool. I think I can help Cat in the playoffs. I mean, I think that I'm excited to see this kind of new and improved and rejuvenated Karl Anthony Thomas, along with the gamers that the Knicks have. So I'm not ready to count the Knicks out yet, man. I'm kind of excited about the Knicks, and I don't want you guys to pull my Bulls card, but I am. I'm excited to see if the Knicks can capitalize on their postseason success last year with a couple of new weapons.
I think what it is also though, T, is I worry about those Tibbs teams in the playoffs about the mileage. You know what I'm saying, that they put on their knees and their bodies. Because if you look at the top guys who are in minutes, minutes played, dude, like it's all Knicks players, like in that top 10, like all of them. Yep. It's a Knicks list, bro. And so I don't know how that, because that's why they lost to Indiana last year, is because everybody got hurt. Jalen Brunson was out there just playing with like one arm. And man, that's the reason they kind of went out, and they'll fight you to the end. Like I won't ever take that from them. They get that respect from me. I know they're a good team, and Karl Anthony Towns, as you said, has been absolutely awesome for them this year, man. Of what Tibbs has instilled in him, and he's going to have to be the one to carry them. You're right in this playoffs, but it's just that concerns me more than anything. When I say a second round team, is I'm like, how much do they got in the tank on this? Like every year I watch that Tibbs team do that when it comes to the playoffs. That injury bug hits them at some point in time, and it's usually in that postseason. So maybe it's 99% logic and 1% hate, for me when I talk about the Knicks. I'm not going to act like I like the Knicks, bro. Like, it's just, It's 1% hate on that. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it's 99% logic and basketball wise when I talk about them like that.
Notice I didn't even say the name. That's my kind of hate. I don't even talk about him.
Josh.
Yeah, but you brought up a good point as far as the Knicks. That's what I was gonna say as well. Tips teams normally they eventually fall short because they run out of gas. So we'll see if that is something that can happen with the Knicks, and that's why I wouldn't count them as them going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I do think it's going to be a Cavs Celtics Eastern Conference Finals for sure. I kind of look at Kenny Atkinson, what he's done with the Cavs, not exactly, but in some cases similarly to what Steve Kerr did when he arrived in Golden State, taking over from Mark Jackson. He gave them a different another philosophy. He took what the previous coach started, kept it, built on top of it, and created it into his own. And the players bought into a point where they were able to grow and develop from it. I like the fact that is what Kenny Atkinson did, and it just took things to another level for the Cavs. That on top of the fact that, yes, Darius Garland has continued to emerge. Evan Mobley, like we talked about earlier, has really taken that next leap. But let's also not forget that Donovan Mitchell is the alpha over there, and he's taking this comeback to a whole nother level this year. He remembers how they went down last year against the Celtics in the fashion that they did, and he's taking that personally. And you can tell just off the beginning of the season alone that he's making sure that this team is ready to go in all facets of the game as they continue to make this stretch. So I think when the playoffs do come and they finally do get that matchup, you might see a different Donovan Mitchell coming up into the game plan. And that is something that Boston can handle, but I personally don't know if they really are ready for that matchup. They may not expect it. It will make the series that much more intriguing. So I do think that we're going to see another Boston Celtics Cavs matchup, and it's most likely going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. But this is a different Cavs team than what happened last season, and Boston has to be ready to take on that challenge because a determined Donovan Mitchell with a confident young Evan Mobley, a confident Darius Garland, with Kenny Atkinson, who is not JB Bickerstaff. This is a completely different type of coaching direction with matchup changes as well. The way how they handle matchups and stuff on the fly. It's going to be a different challenge for the Celtics, and I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive than it was last year. So that is definitely something I'll be looking forward to come April.
Yeah, Josh, that point you made about Steve Kerr is that's an incredibly important one too, because I think we're at the point where it's like we got to start talking about like Steve Kerr in terms of like the way we talk about NFL coaching trees, because what Kenny Atkinson has done, I would also add it. I had a hypothesis that what Kenny Atkinson would do, because he'd been in the Warrior system, would be very similar to like Mike Brown when he went over to the Kings, and they had that light the beam season, like where all of a sudden they're the number one offense in the league. And a lot of ways, like Kenny Atkinson's now like exceeded that, because I think it's one part like he's bringing that whole Warriors culture perhaps, but it's just superior talent as far as Cavs compared to like that first season he had on the Kings. So I just wanted to call it out because I thought that was a very astute observation by you, Josh, where it's like there's something about like how Steve Kerr has built up that system over his dynasty, where like now you're seeing like that might be the go-to place for head coaches. So next Bulls coach, like I would love it if it's Jerry Stackhouse or Terry Stotts. Let's just put that out there right now for all the Billy haters. I am not one, but that's who we should be talking about for the next Bulls head coach.
I hear that.
Few more minutes with our
just real quick
NBA.
on the Eastern Conference for me. I think.
No, go ahead, Sid. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, just real quick on my comment on the Eastern Conference. I think we will get a Cleveland-Boston Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Knicks are the wild card if they stay healthy. But here's one team to pay attention to, and that's the Milwaukee Bucks. Yes, I do like the trade that they did with Milton for Kyle Kuzma. I think it's going to pay dividends. But remember, this Bucks team last year were in the position where the Cavs are this year, before Giannis and Dame both went out with injuries. This year, you think they were about to take off, but they still kind of struggling here a bit. But I think that if they have another ugly early exit in the playoffs this year, I think those talks and those whispers that we've been hearing over the last few years about Giannis leaving Milwaukee, I think it's going to become more of a reality, because You added Dame, now you added Kuzma. You have Giannis has a head coach now in Doc Rivers, but if they have an ugly playoff exit again this year, barring injury, I think those whispers are going to get louder and louder in terms of Giannis wanting to leave Milwaukee.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, a few more minutes for our illustrious NBA panel here on Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Josh Hicks, Big Dave Watson, Mo Blankton, and Terrence Tomlin. Now, I'll start with you, Josh. What do you expect these final 27, 28 games of the season? Are there going to be any like surprise teams, or some teams going to taper off? What do you guys think is going to be like the big thing to look out for these last 27, 28 games? Josh, I'll start with you.
Man, I want to see how the bottom half of the Western Conference plays out, because those are all teams, and when you look at it from the current standard beneath that 6th seed, the Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks, Sacramento Kings, and Golden State Warriors. Outside of the Warriors, all of them were in the playoffs last year, and half of those teams made deep playoff runs. So because of that, with them being at the bottom of the half now, I wonder how they're going to use these last 27, 28 games to reposition themselves to get back into potentially higher seeding, or if they do stay there, how their journey is going to be as they go from there, trying to get back to the Western Conference Finals or even the NBA Finals like the Mavs did last season. So I'm definitely going to pay attention to how that bottom half of that West turns out, because it could be some flipping going on in the West, especially if teams like the Clippers and the Lakers start to slip a little bit as we they begin to start the second half of the season post All-Star break. So that's going to be really paying attention to the most.
Dave?
Definitely the Warriors in the Western Conference. I want to see what they end up doing. I'm definitely keeping my eye on the Rockets. That's probably one of my favorite teams to watch, period. I just love the way they play. And I'm a huge fan of the Thompson twins, even since they when they were drafted. I was a big fan of them, and I was pissed that one went to Detroit. Like, I was like, oh man, like I already know how good these dudes are. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I'm definitely going to be watching them, watching the Rockets, seeing what the Grizzlies do, because number one seed is pretty much wrapped up. So I'm curious to see what the Grizzlies kind of do. Like, are they still playing hard, or are they worried about health? Because health is a lot of the reason why they haven't been able to advance in those playoffs, man. So I'm curious to see how they're going to be handling this, because they're not going to get to that number one spot. Like, so how do you continue to go for it but chill and worry about health? Like, it's a fine line to walk, and I guess that's why you got your coaches to figure those things out for you. So I'm curious to watch that, see how it goes. I mentioned the Lakers and Dallas for sure. San Antonio I'm looking at too. I'm looking at Portland strictly because of draft reasons. They have come out of nowhere. Shout out Chauncey Billups, who's got those guys playing really well and believing in themselves when they're out there. So I want to see what they do if this continues for them over these next 30 games or 27 games. If they still want to be a team that's being a winning team. So in the East, Detroit is honestly who I'm looking at, because they're a 6th seed now. I believe they're like a game or two out of the 4th seed. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see that and how that moves up. And I think it's the Pacers at 4 and Milwaukee at 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, I mean, those are two teams I think they can beat. So I'm curious, to really see that, because that's when you're going to really see some fighting. You know what I mean? There's some fight for it, like who wants it more. And the Pistons continue to show they truly, truly want it. And I want to see how much these other teams do. So I know Giannis does. You know what I mean? And you mentioned Kyle Kuzma, and they're getting the good Kyle Kuzma, because they're getting the Kyle Kuzma who's engaged, and they're getting the Kyle Kuzma who cares right now. That's a whole different ball player, bro. Like, he's not caring about his fashion right now. Like, he's actually playing defense. You know what I mean? Like, that's a different Kyle Kuzma that they're getting. So that makes them, you're right, that definitely makes them more intriguing going forward. And of course, I mean, obviously I'm looking at the Bulls, but I'm also looking at, do I keep my sanity for these next 27 games? Because I lost my mind on that trade deadline. But now I'm gonna see if I keep my sanity together on these 27 games, man, and just where they kind of end up in those in the draft proceedings.
Mo?
Yeah, I think so on the Western Conference side, the so it's two teams in particular that I think I'm going to keep my eye on for the rest of this regular season. The first one being, the Memphis Grizzlies, because it seems like they have that second seed locked up pretty well. And then I think the story there is, I am going to be curious about like what does a Memphis that's like kind of like fully rebooted finally after being decimated with injuries, not really being the playoff force that like they looked like they were going to be 2 or 3 seasons ago, where you had that Grizzlies Timberwolves matchup. It was a really good matchup, and you were like excited. I felt like you were excited about that upward trajectory the Grizzlies were going to be on. So they're on track to come back. Also I'm a Purdue guy, so like I'm a big Zach Edey guy. So I'm curious, like Zach Edey on the big stage of the NBA finally, because I mean he was a dominant force in college, and now it's as much as people were like skeptical about Zach Edey and how his game would translate, and I would have to give like immense credit to whatever he did in the summer. He fundamentally transformed his body. I'm telling you, because I watched him for 4 seasons at Purdue. Like he understood the mission. Yeah. This dude is for real in terms of like his desire to work and be a force in the NBA. And like he's exceeded any expectation I had. Like I thought he was going to honestly be somebody who was going to just kind of work his way up off of like bench rotation minutes. Became in out of the gate as a starter. And granted, he has to be healthy too. And so that's an element of the story as well. Is like is Edey Edey and really the Grizzlies front court overall, like is the health going to be there? Because I think that's an important part of their game, because those are the dudes that create the driving lanes for Ja, and he needs his bigs. So. Like I am really curious to see like what this rebooted Grizzlies team looks like in a playoff setting, and then the other aspect of it, like Dave mentioned, the Warriors, because Jimmy is an intriguing wild card, and that was my takeaway after I watched us playing, the Bulls playing the Warriors. Is like that is an actual like wild card matchup in terms of the scheme, because now you have a dribble penetration force that the Warriors didn't really have prior to Jimmy, that kind of is going to I think help the Warriors get back to doing a lot of that motion stuff with Steph. But then it's just the pure energy dog aspect of it. Like you see, it's a feedback loop between Jimmy and Draymond now. Like they're just going to be like animals. I feel like when it gets to playoffs, and like that's the kind of stuff. That's how Jimmy willed the Heat to those 2 finals. I feel like it's just like being a maniac, and so like that's just that wild card factor. That, like I am curious to see. Is it going to be a controlled maniac thing where like somehow all of a sudden you got the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals when they have no business being in that? Like that's going to be interesting to me. And then on the East, I would say the Pistons as well, because again, like I think this is a lot of new. This is like for them also like it's going to be a new dynamic, not just for the players on the court, but that entire organization. Like they're coming back to relevant basketball again. So that's going to be interesting. And then I think something that maybe it's not like at the forefront of the NBA, but I'm kind of aware of it just because I live here in New York. But it's kind of like it seems like there's an emerging civil war with the Brooklyn Nets fans about like what direction are they supposed to be going? Because like I think everybody logically assumed they were a tanking team, but they're winning games. And in a lot of ways like that, like Nets fans are having the same kind of frustrations as Bulls fans are having, where it's like, we need to be bad so we can get this top pick. And I think that it's a higher stakes for them, quite honestly, because they have better assets than the Bulls have. So they definitely need to be tanking. So it's like the Nets, and then you can add the rest of the bottom. Like, how's that Eastern Conference tank tier going to work out? Because it seems like there should be some teams that are clearly motivated to tank. And at the same time, like, is Philly going to actually just, like, cut the cord at this point and tank? Like, that's just an interesting story to me about the East, is, like, that tanking tier, because I think all the teams that, like, are playoff and play-in tier, you know what to kind of expect, I think, for each one of those teams. It's, like, that's kind of my curiosity, is, like, on the draft side and the tanking side with the East. Like, how's that going to pan out?
T?
I'm fully engulfed in the tankathon, Morris, just to piggyback on what you said. In the Eastern Conference, man, I'm looking at the Bulls and wondering, how far can they realistically slip to better their odds of Cooper Flags or Ace Bailey. I'm in the Ace Bailey camp with you, Dave. But I'm realistically looking, and the Bulls could definitely, like you said, Morris, if they embrace the tank, if they embrace extending that 4-game losing streak that they're currently on. Coming out the gate, the Bulls have a very tough schedule, man. The Knicks, Suns, then they go head-to-head with the Sixers and, one of their Tankathon brothers, but then they got the Clippers, Raptors, Pacers, Cleveland, Magic. I'm thinking if the bottom falls out for the Bulls, then that's best case scenario. Go ahead and help our man Arturas Karnisovas out a little bit. Let him fall into another number one draft pick, like Pats and everybody did, because that's the only way it's happening for our Chicago Bulls. So that's definitely what I'm looking at. Definitely more concerned with where the Bulls are going to end up in a lottery pick. I think that a lot of things that Zach LaVine trade kind of hinges on where the Bulls fall in the lottery. So I'm hoping best case scenario that they lose for the greater good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sid? Yep. Sid?
Sid on a lag?
I think he's kind of on a lag there.
Sid, what you watching? You watching something else?
Oh yeah, sorry. Real quick, yes. In the Eastern, in the Eastern Conference, I'm watching the Indiana Pacers. I know they quietly had a resurgence over the last month or so. I don't think they'll get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think they'll cause some problems for a couple of teams. In the Western Conference, I don't think we mentioned this team yet on this show, but the Denver Nuggets, they struggled with a couple of injuries to start the year with Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. But if that team stays healthy, I think they can make a dangerous run. I think an interesting playoff measure. I don't know if we're going to get it this year, but Western Conference Finals, Denver, OKC. I think that sounds very intriguing. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it could. I mean, I think for me, at the Clippers kind of intrigue me. We'll see what happens with them. Now, we didn't mention this. I don't think we mentioned this team very much during this hour, but Houston. I think Houston could be a team like they could go. Could they stay there in the top four, or will they fall off to the play-in? We'll see about them. Minnesota. I'm hoping that they can get it together. I'm hoping that Julius Randle can stay healthy and help and out. Golden State, as long as Jimmy and Draymond don't start fighting, I think they'll be okay. They might go a little bit further up. Phoenix, I'm done with Phoenix. I don't know what the hell to say about them at this point. I had them in the finals just a couple years ago, so that's just how bad I am with my predictions. The Bulls, I mean, I'm just glad I can't watch, so I don't have to watch them bottom out. Go ahead, bottom out. I don't care at this point. Miami, even though despite everything, they're still like right there in the play-in, so I'm going to just see what happens in life without Jimmy. Detroit, they're fascinating as well. Like you said, Dave. The Knicks, I'm just like, as long as no one's legs fall off or arms fall off, that's what I'm looking forward as well. Cleveland, Boston, I'm not saying that they're going to be the matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals, but maybe we'll see. I think Indiana may have something to say about that. Milwaukee may have something to say about that as well if Giannis can stay healthy and whatever else. So yeah, it's going to be very intriguing these last 27, 28 games.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Sid, anything else? Yeah.
Last question from me right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. On Sid Lakina in our panel with us. Are you guys looking forward to the new All-Star format this year? Are you rooting for it, or are you rooting against it? Josh, I'll start with you quickly.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I honestly can care less at this point. Just because the All-Star game in general has just been so dry. It's not what it used to be at all. And because of that, no matter how much you want to intrigue it, and try to amp it up and everything, what makes the All-Star game is the All-Stars. They have to put their whole effort into making it a game that is worth entertaining. Yeah. And what the direction the league is going in, it's not as entertaining as it once was, that I grew up on at least. So because of that, I'm still gonna watch it. I'm still gonna I want to see how it does play out. See if it does enhance it a little bit. Even when they did the Elam ending a couple years ago when they started here in Chicago for 2020 All-Star Weekend, that brought a lot of the fire back into the All-Star game that we missed. So I want to see if this new format can do that for them. But successful or not, I'm not going to be too bothered or moved by it, because it's just not the same as what it used to be for me. So we'll see how it happens, though. We'll see how it all comes together, but I'm not too enthused about it.
T?
Now, I feel like, Josh, I think they're skating around what could really help the quality of the game, and it's put some bread on the line. Put some bread up, get these guys something to play for. We all know this generation, that's all they respect. You know what I mean? We've seen it, the game get watered down. It's time to go ahead and put some money on the line so we can see, these players play a little bit. It's really become kind of embarrassing, to the game, the All-Star Weekend and things like that. But if they really want to wake the players up, you got to put some money on the line. You got to stop treating it like it's a playground pickup game. That's not what it is. As much as you may want it to be, that is not what it is. We don't have to pretend. We don't have to have 4 teams or a tournament style. We got to take it back to the essence. East Coast versus West Coast. I seen Trae Young fill in for Giannis, and now he got to play on the global team. It's making absolutely no sense out here. So they should, Adam Silver and the NBA really need to do themselves a favor and use the All-Star game to really put some excitement back in the game. The trade deadline was dope. After a few years of it being like a really kind of overblown thing, it's time to address the All-Star game and make it exciting again. It's absolutely Josh, you said you're gonna watch it. I don't know. If I'm at home and the TV's on, it's become that kind of thing for me. I'm probably definitely going to watch the 3-point contest. But hopefully our boy Buzelis comes through in the dunk contest, but I may have to DVR that. Yeah, I mean, I may have to DVR that because it used to be about the stars. And no disrespect to Buzelis and the guys in the dunk contest. It just doesn't have the same star power or enthusiasm behind it, like you said, Josh. So it's on the skip list, possibly for me. But definitely, I think it's very easy, to decide what these guys need to do. Put some bread on the line, Adam Silver.
Mo, and then Dave, you can jump right in when he finishes.
Yeah, I can't even lie. Like I'm at this very moment, I do not fully understand what the format of the All-Star game is, because it's like when I tried to read it, I'm like, man, this is too complicated, man. Just like T said, like, can we just go back to East versus West? Like, it made sense. Like, and this is gonna make me sound like the old man on the lawn about this, but it's just like, it used to make sense, but also I think very much a nuanced thing in this is that the whole premise of an All-Star game, specifically for the NBA, it really just isn't relevant anymore because of player movement. Like when you used to have an NBA All-Star game like 25 years ago, even before that, like that was the one time where you got to see like what it looked like a bunch of superstars played together. Like we see that every night. If you have League Pass, you see all the stars. It isn't like this big thing anymore to see all these dudes on the court at the same time, because it's just there's an abundance of opportunity to see that. So I think the league needs to just rethink the whole concept in general. Like I think if two things actually, like figure out a way to just like simplify what the All-Star game is, maybe even make it the first event of All-Star weekend. Also, like an idea I've put out there before, I think the league should actually consider doing the way All-Star weekend, make a whole All-Star week where each night, like you could just focus in on like a specific thing and just build a lot more excitement and interest behind that versus trying to do all the stuff in Saturday night and Sunday, and then people get underwhelmed. At least like, if one thing falls flat, you got another night, and like do it like a Super Bowl week basically. Because one of the things I have learned about All-Star Weekend is also like pretty much like a big convention kind of thing anyway, where a lot of NBA business gets done. So like do it right, do it for a week. You'll make even more bread doing that versus just like continue to try the same thing over and over and just get more underwhelming every year.
Man, I mean, don't complain about being the old man on the lawn. I think we all on the lawn with you, bro. Like, for real. Straight up. So Like I know I'm gonna look at it. Like I'm gonna DVR it, like T said for sure. 'Cause that's how I kind of do it every year. I DVR it, and then if I ask what happened before I turn it on, and I'll be like, bro, what happened? Did something happen? Okay, well, fine, I'll skip it. You know, it's cool. I won't worry about it. The format, yeah, I'll look at it just to see what it looks like, you know, because it's a brand new format. Like, oh, let me see what they're trying to do. I agree with T. Like, I liked the format they had previously where they were getting $100,000 per quarter and playing for a specific charity. I thought that was really, really a good thing because that got the charity and the crowd engaged in it because they wanted to win it. So, and it made the players like, hey, like people just want to be natural givers. And what if I can play basketball and give you money for that? Like, I thought the players were engaged to do that kind of thing. So yeah, money is always the equalizer on stuff like this. I'm probably more intrigued because of Modest Buzelis. Not only is he playing the dunk contest, he's now in the Rising Stars Challenge now too, because of an injury to the New Orleans center. So he might have he has a chance to actually be playing on Sunday. So that'll make me that gets a DVR for that right there. So it's nothing I'm gonna sit and just watch live. You know, I'm just not gonna do that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do that. I probably the dunk contest, if where I'm at it's on, I'll sit and look at it because of the 3-point contest for sure, because that's where all the star power is now, is in the 3-point contest. It's not in the dunk contest anymore. That all changed when LeBron. I still blame LeBron for that, for not participating, because it kind of changed after that, to be for real with you. And there's no more like real stars that get up in it. Like there's no more real names like that I know when I watch that dunk contest. And that's not disrespect to any of the young guys doing amazing things. It's just the names I just don't really know. Because if you even look in the crowd during that time, that's when everybody's showing up because they want to watch that show. Now they're showing, they're like, well, let me get here earlier now, you know, because I want to watch this 3-point contest happen. So maybe you put the 3-point contest last, you know, you put the dunk contest before that. You could do it that way as well. So yeah, they got a lot of stuff to figure out. Just be open to change, but in the end, I agree with T, man. Money is the equalizer. It will always make you play a little bit harder, and it will always make you, you know, go for it a little bit more. It is the perfect salve for that kind of wound that they're trying to heal right there. So yeah, look more into that. I mean, look at the midseason tournament thing. You know what I mean? Like, but before it happened, guys didn't care. But as soon as they found out how much they was getting, guys, all right, we hooping tonight. All right, come on, guys, let's go. Everybody, come, ball up. Let's do this. So yeah, man, let's see what the money can do to help that. But yeah, I'm be rooting for Modest Buzelis. Bottom line of it.
Yes, yeah, same here with me. I think, if the college hoops game I'm watching, if something piques my interest, and then watch it on my phone and probably watch it on the television or something like that. And I think, piggybacking off what T said about putting money, have the sponsors involved. Put the sponsors involved to put some money into the pot, and perhaps maybe, if Steph hits like a half court shot, or if LeBron, shoots a 3 from half court, or do like a dunking kind of thing where, people, online can vote on, add more money to the pot, just have it concurrent so that, look, whoever wins, hey, look, you get the money for your favorite charity and, and everything else. So just make it a little bit interesting, I think, like you guys said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just do like MTV did back in the day with the rock and jump ball. Bring back the 25-point shot.
That was my jam. I used to see. If they did rock and jock basketball for the All-Star game, I would clear my whole weekend. Like I used to love.
Okay, they play harder in the rock and jock than they do in All-Star game now, anyway. So
that's a fact.
Yes. Look, we all saw how competitive Queen Latifah, Bill Bellamy. We saw all those folks. Those folks. Come on now.
Correct.
On ball Queen Latifah defense. That was living back then. We had.
Oh yes.
Oh, man.
Good times. Good times.
Was awesome. You ain't lying.
Yep.
Yes. All
right, that was our NBA. It's been so much fun. I know we're way past time, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. So our thanks to Josh Hicks, Big Dave Watson, Mo Blankton, and Terrence Tomlin. Josh, I'll start with you. Where people can find all your great work on social media and all the other good stuff.
Instagram, Twitter at Josh M. Hicks Media. Got a lot of things coming your way.
All right. All right. T.
Please find us at It's the Bigs on all platforms. Looking forward to having a great year on our front, man. We got baseball season in front of us. I know that doesn't make the Chicago's too excited, but looking forward to me and Jane delivering some good baseball coverage and throughout the year. Shout out to CPL. We're covering the championship tomorrow at Credit One Union Arena. So we stay busy, and I'm very thankful for it.
All right, Mo.
Yeah, you can find me writing at Bulls on Tap. And Bulls on Tap is on X, the way it's spelled in my headline here. And then I'm also on X at MoBanks10, also on Blue Sky, MoBanks10 bluesky.social, and I'm on the gram, MoBanks bball10.
And last but not least, Mr. Big Dave.
I mean, much love and respect to everybody on this panel, bro, because I truly, genuinely respect all y'all, bro, and really enjoy, everything that you all do. Like, just wanted to say that because that's the honest thing of it. You follow me at Ball Sport, BAWL Sports, CHGO_Bulls. That's the other Twitter handle. Instagram, Big Dave CHGO. And yeah, man, enjoy your evenings, y'all. Go love on somebody. Enjoy your
All right, guys, it's been so much fun. As always, we'll definitely have you guys try to get you guys back on when the playoffs start in a couple of months. So much love to you guys, and we'll talk to you guys soon. You guys stay safe and keep up the great work, guys.
Thank you, Sid and Lakina.
Yeah, thank you all. Appreciate you.
Peace.
All right. Yeah. Likewise. All right, so that was.
Take care, guys.
All right, so that was so much fun. I know we're way past time, and that might be our buddy Sean, calling up like you guys have been past time. But with that said, you can follow back Keena McGee on the Twitter X.
Yeah, we better get up out of here.
Yeah, I'll say you can follow back Keena McGee on the Twitter X and Q.
You can follow yours truly. You can follow yours truly, Cindy Brown, on Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Don't forget, please subscribe to our podcast at Ward Media Podcast. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give Ward Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more game, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports Live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And catch replays of our show and all the other shows right here on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas, What's Up Cuz, and other great content from Sports Zone Chicago. Catch us, the replays, anytime, anywhere. If you miss anything, it's all right there for you. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, anytime, anywhere on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
And we will provide.
All right. Once again, we want to thank our great panel, Josh Hicks, Big Dave Watson, Mo Blankton, and Terrence Tomlin for joining us. It's been so much fun. And we'll try to have at least most of those guys back on for when we do the playoffs in a couple of months.
Mm-hmm. Playoffs!
All right. So for Sid, I'm Lakina. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Stay warm, stay dry. I know it's going to be snowing in most parts of the country. And enjoy all the great sports coming up. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Holla!